Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, and my co-host will be joining us a little late tonight, so we'll see her shortly. And before we bring on our first guest, because we have lots of things to talk about with our first guest, wanted to let people know the National Black Book Festival registration. We had a lot of signups in the last week. We're at 83% capacity. So if you plan to register as an author, I would suggest you go ahead and put your deposit down because we will likely sell out by mid-July, maybe sooner. So, don't procrastinate. And our first guest is no stranger to the book industry, to this show, or to book lovers everywhere, and we're going to go ahead and bring her on. And she is none other than Victoria Christopher Murray, who I have known since she first wrote her first book. It had an apple on it, I think. Did it?
It had an apple. It was supposed to be an apple. It looked more like an orange. Oh my goodness, Gwen, that's a long time. I wrote that book in 1997.
Okay, and we started our Kush City in 98. So, and then we opened the store in 2000. So anyway, welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being so patient with me. This has been quite a whirlwind few months for me.
I said, Victoria is so busy that we can't even get her book. Then we get her book and she has to change it. But it doesn't matter because we don't mind being later on in your tour. And you've been all over the place. I've been checking out the pictures and all of the best-selling lists that you've made. And just all of the support that you've gotten. And then the last month, you and Rashonda did the Black Bookstore Tour, which thank you for doing that. I don't have a bookstore anymore, but I know how important that is for the bookstores. A lot of the authors, when they get well known, and I consider you in that category.
Okay.
A lot of times they're too, it's like, they're whoever their gatekeepers are that book them. They don't know the importance of being in the community. And so that was so exciting to see. And hopefully other authors will team up with people or go by themselves.
Yeah, I think we should do that. There's over 150 independent Black bookstores. And so Rashonda and I just touched 8 of them. And so we said, okay, we can go to different parts of the country and, do this little drive through and I think we should always use the same hashtag, Black Bookstore Celebration. Okay. So that we're all saying the same thing and getting out there, because there's no way Rashonda and I by ourselves will be able to cover 150 stores. And even if we went out to, twice a year to something like that. But if we're all going out there, it would be so wonderful. So I really want to keep this Black Bookstore celebration going.
Now, did you all drive?
So we flew the first leg of it, and then we had to divide it up in half. So the first 4 stores we flew to the different cities. I had to go to Delaware for an event, and then the second one we drove to the cities. It's much, much, much smarter to drive to the cities. Much smarter.
Yeah, I would think so, because you can do other things while you're there.
Yeah.
I love road trips.
Yeah.
I like getting outside of the city on the road. The city traffic is just a pitch, but I like getting past the city limits where you're on an open road. You get to see things. Uh, it's no pressure.
Yeah,
You
and you
know,
can leave when you want. Like
yeah,
we had to take
yeah.
the early morning flights. Then when you get to the airport, you got to take an Uber to the airport, an Uber from the airport, an Uber to the bookstore. It just got to be too much. And it was always meant to be a road trip. That's what we should model for other authors to do it. But the second half was all driving, no longer than 2 to 3 hours. It was perfect. And so that's what we will always drive from this point forward.
Now, who did you all just sit around and brainstorm one day and say, why don't we do this? Or how did the idea manifest?
So the idea came up with, I was doing a book signing with Mahogany Books with Ramunda Young, and I was doing a book signing with her. And she was talking about how my publisher, Berkeley, really does try to include Black bookstores. But this whole big tour I went on, I only went to 2 Black bookstores. And
Okay.
so she was talking about how she was starting a Black bookstore coalition. And I was like, how are you doing a Black bookstore coalition with 5 Black bookstores? I didn't know. And I was talking about how the Black bookstores were the ones that put me on the map. The Black bookstores are the ones that knew about that book with the tomato on the cover. It was supposed to be an apple. I remember I cried when I got that. It looked just like a tomato. But it was the Black bookstores who hand sold those books. And she said, Victoria, there are 150 of them out there now. And I was like, what? Because, when in 2007, the whole digital thing came, and when Emma Rogers went out of business and everything, I didn't know we had ever really recovered from that. And so she said, there are 150 of them. They're still struggling. Some are doing better than others. And she and I were just talking. And I said, I think I'm going to try to do a Black bookstore tour. I said, I'll talk to Rashonda. And I said, we ain't going to all 150. That'll take a whole year, which is something maybe somebody should do one year, just go out there and do that. But once I started talking to her, she helped us kind of look at the areas, put it together, and that was it. And so that's something that we're going to do. We've talked to other authors, Bernice McFadden, Donna Hill, who are interested in doing the same kind of thing. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I hadn't had a chance to welcome Rhonda to the show. So
Hi, Rhonda.
My co-host, sometimes her work makes her late.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
It's all good. I have a great story about Rhonda. I was a keynote speaker in Germany. And who drove up from Belgium to see me? She drove from Belgium. Like, that's the best story ever. Like, first of all, the fact that you could drive from Belgium to Germany
that's what I loved about Europe.
And that by itself was amazing. And then she was like, you ain't coming over here to my continent, and I'm not driving to see you. And she drove from Belgium to Germany to see me. Like, who does that?
That's true. And the answer is Rhonda.
Right? Rhonda and I know each other.
I have a story about Victoria as well. When I first Meet the World Image Solutions, one of my first events was a literary takeover during Essence Festival, and Victoria and Rashonda came down to support that event.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah. So I've known both of you for so long.
20 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and none of us has aged a day.
Not a single day.
Yeah, let's not get crazy.
Not a single day.
So one of the viewers, before we get started, asked, what was the name of your first book?
Temptation.
That's what I remember, but I wanted you to say it, and I'm going to type it in the chat. So she will have that. She's
You
one
know,
of our regular viewers.
interestingly enough, Victoria, I'm sure you heard about the white author on TikTok who got a 2-book deal and has never written a word of his manuscript. I'm not sure if you've heard about him.
No.
Yeah, well, so there was an author. He's a rugby player, so he was already kind of famous in his own right. And he was on The Bachelor Australia. And then he decided on April 22nd. I know it's April 22nd because that's what everybody keeps saying. He was only on TikTok for a month. But on April 22nd, he started his TikTok and he would review books. And he amassed such a following. He has over 170,000 followers, and he probably has 10 videos. And one of the videos, he announced that I think it was Simon and Schuster offered him a 2-book deal, and he hasn't written his manuscript. And somewhere where he was thinking, and he said he was overwhelmed, he said, I can't wait to write this manuscript. And the whole Twitterverse just went crazy, saying, I can't believe that they will offer you a book deal and you've never written a word. It's not fair. There are minority authors out there who are struggling to get book deals. And the first person I thought about was you, Victoria, because you had that series that you started, and two of the books have been written, and you received the movie deal, and then you got a deal for the books that you hadn't even written yet.
I hadn't even written yet. I got a 7-movie deal.
Yes.
And I had written 3 books, so that's not true. That's not true that you can't.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Everybody went crazy and they just came down on this young man. And I wound up doing a video. I said, sometimes it's not about the fact that he wrote the book or whether he wrote the manuscript or not. He has developed a following, and anybody who's able to get 170,000 followers in just over a month. And the thing is, he also mentioned that he had tried to get a book deal before, so they were already familiar with him.
Yeah, right. And I think I was able to get the book deal because I had a reputation of finishing projects. So nobody was going to worry about whether or not I was going to write those other books.
Because I think you also have a reputation for like being cloistered when you have books that are due and people can't get in touch with you because you're so serious about meeting your deadlines.
Victoria was writing her book during the book signing when she came from my event in New York.
I would be sitting down. I don't waste a second. I will write. If I'm waiting for a reader to come up and there's nobody there right now, I will work.
Yeah, well, and that's what it takes. And you know, for the gentleman who's a rugby player, he was a semi-celebrity already.
Yeah.
And so the industry
people were saying that he came out of nowhere, but he didn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He had a following.
He had a following. Yeah. But the book industry, they're looking for easy money. They're looking for easy sales. And people who already have a following, that's easy sales.
Yes, definitely.
You're not having to struggle to build an audience. That's hard. So I have my copy of Harlem Rhapsody. It's on my to be read shelf, which is jam-packed, but
I can imagine.
I had to get it. And so, because, you know, historical fiction is my very favorite genre. And you seem like you are one of those people, and I like to do this as well, but you are one of those people that kind of is the first. You're not afraid to be the first out of the gate to do something, because you did it with Christian fiction. You said you didn't even know that that's what it was, but then they said you're a Christian fiction author, and then it became a whole genre. And when you did The Personal Librarian, there were not a lot of books about historical fiction about Black people, let alone Black women. It would be every now and then something would come out. But now there's enough material to where people can just read that.
Yeah.
And that's what the Personal Librarian Facebook group does. They only read historical fiction written by Black women. And I think it's about Black women. So it's very specific. But now they have enough to fill up a year. And still they don't read them all.
And they don't read them all, right?
So,
they have enough to fill up. They can't even get to all the authors because, but you're right. Back in 2020, they wouldn't have been able to have a group like that. And I'm sure the first year that they got started, I think they were just doing it like 6 months at a time because they didn't have it. Now they have more than enough.
Yeah. And what I like about what she does, Tammy Smithers, she really is committed because they do tours, they go to the city, the location where the book is about, and they do a whole, sometimes they'll have 2 or 3 events in the city that they go to. So she's really all in.
Yeah, she's become a book influencer, and I love that for her.
Yes, she has. So this is the third, if I'm not mistaken, because I've read them all. I haven't read this one yet, but I read The Personal Librarian, of course, and I read the First Ladies. Okay, so this is the third one.
Yes.
And so now, were you writing these other books when you thought of this idea, or like how did you go from The First Ladies to
this one? Mm-hmm. So this was my first solo historical fiction novel. And so I was we were writing The First Ladies at the end. We were doing the edits and everything. And I had to come up with a book idea for my solo project. Marie has been writing her own solo books for a while. And so I wish I could say that it was some scientific, wonderful method that I came up with that I bumped into this thing. Because what I tried to do was I said, okay, what decades do I like to write the most about? And I absolutely love the 20s and the 60s. And I love them for almost the same reasons, because as a writer, very visual. With the fashion and the music and the food and where the people live, you can really, if you can write a paragraph and people will know it's in the 20s, you can write a paragraph and people will know it's in the 60s. And both of those time periods were the rise of Black pride for different reasons, but the rise of Black pride. So those things and the political nature of both of those decades interested me. And so I said, okay, I'm going to look for stories in the 20s and the 60s. And then I said, I'm going to look for them in different cities. And I was thinking New York, because that's where I'm from, and Washington, D.C. and L.A. And when I looked in the 20s in New York, I bumped into the Harlem Renaissance. You just bump it, because the 20s in New York is the Harlem Renaissance. So I was like, oh, that is a perfect thing for me to write about. I hadn't seen any other historical fiction on the Harlem Renaissance. And so now I needed a woman, and I didn't want to write about Zora or, Nella, the people that you've heard of. I was looking for an undiscovered person, but I didn't know if there would be anyone there. I wasn't even sure if the Harlem Renaissance was going to work. And I Googled, and Google is not how you do your research, but I just Googled women of the Harlem Renaissance, and it came up Langston Hughes, County Cullen. And I was like, come on, Google, you're a misogynist. I said women of the Harlem Renaissance. But under Langston Hughes' name, there was a quote that said Jessie Redmond Fawcett was the literary midwife of the Harlem Renaissance. And then underneath that was a podcast by a gentleman by the name of Tremaine Lee. And it was called Harlem on My Mind. And it was a 25-minute podcast about Jessie Redmond Fawcett. I had never heard her name before. After 25 minutes, I knew that was one of the stories I wanted to tell.
Okay. Now, did you know about her relationship with the boy when you picked her? Or did you find that out?
Found that out.
Okay, when you were in the process of research.
I was in the process. It was early on when I found out about her relationship with the boy, but I was really into the story already when I found out she was a member of Delta Sigma Theta. And if I had known she was a member of Delta, I would have never written the story.
Wow.
I promise you, I'm not just saying that. I would have never written a story about a Delta having an affair with W.E.B. Du Bois. I would have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would have never wanted to do that.
Well, Deltas like sex too.
Yeah, I know we like sex, but we're not supposed to like sex with the
a little
husband.
mysterious. I can understand what you're saying,
I
Victoria.
really, and that's why I'm so grateful to God that I didn't know, because Jessie deserved to have her story told. But I promise you, I would not have written her story if I had known she was a Delta.
Now she would have been one of the early Deltas because
she was yep
because
she was at the fifth convention.
Oh, okay, yeah, because that like all of the Divine Nine or the sororities in that I'm not, but Rhonda is, and my daughter is. My daughter's a Zeta, and all of the founders' days are similar timing.
Yeah,
and
Victoria knows I'm a Zeta.
Yeah, I know you're a Zeta. I know you're a Zeta. And so is Zora Neale Hurston.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's new information for me. Honestly, I'm not Greek, so I don't keep track of who's who.
I don't know. Sometimes you've been knowing something for so long, you think everybody knows. I just automatically thought you knew that she was a Zeta.
Oh, no, I didn't know. Jessie was a Delta, and the only reason I know Victoria's a Delta because she always is posting pictures, and I know Shonda is an AKA, and you all are always posting pictures of where you went. And despite what some people say about Deltas and AKAs not getting along, they do.
Yeah, that's a lie. That's a myth.
So, reading about Jessie and learning about her, where did you start in terms of where did you want to start her story?
So that's a good question, Gwen, because in historical fiction, I will never write a cradle to a grave story. I'm not looking for a biography. That becomes a biography. That's not what I'm trying to do. So with every character, I find out their accomplishment, and then I write it in that time period. So Jessie Redmond Fawcett was a woman of first. She was the first young Black girl to graduate from the Philadelphia High School for Girls, which is still a prestigious school in Philadelphia. She was the first Black woman to graduate from Cornell University. She was the first Black woman to graduate Phi Beta Kappa. She became the first literary editor of the Crisis magazine, and she was the first to discover every single Harlem Renaissance writer that you know. She discovered Countee Cullen when he was 16, Langston Hughes when he was 17, Nella Larson was in her early 30s, Jean Toomer she had taught when he was in high school. Every single Harlem Renaissance writer that became legends, Jessie discovered them, mentored them, edited them, and published them first. And so with that as the framework, that was the time period I wanted to write about. I wanted to write about her time as the literary editor of the Crisis magazine, because during that time, that was the only place where Black people could be published.
Right.
And so it became a big thing to get your work in the Crisis magazine, and Jessie Redmond Fawcett was the gatekeeper. And what I loved about writing this book is we know Langston Hughes as this legend. I got to meet him as a 17-year-old who had never written anything, and she was the one who encouraged him to write. I got to meet Countee Cullen as a 16-year-old who couldn't even keep eye contact with her. I got to meet Nella Larson, who was thinking about writing a book, and if it wasn't for Jessie, she wouldn't have written her first book, Quicksand, which she writes during the book, during Harlem Rhapsody, and then she wrote Passing. So I just loved, it wasn't just Jessie who I discovered. I loved meeting our legends when they were practically children.
So where did you do most of your research? Did you have to do much traveling, or were you able to basically focus on New York City?
I was able to focus on Harlem mostly.
Okay.
And so I moved to Harlem for 2 different time periods, probably a total of 5 weeks. And I wanted to live in Harlem, even though I'm from New York. I never lived in Harlem, but Harlem is like no other place. The streets pulse with their stories. And lots of the buildings were still there. The building where the church where County Cullen's father preached, that church is still there. Jesse's first apartment is still there. The YMCA where Langston Hughes lived was still there. And the 135th Street Library, which became the Library of the Harlem Renaissance, is still there. Today, it's known as the Schomburg Research Center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so in the book, it's called the 135th Street Library, the first library to be integrated in New York City. It was the Library of the Harlem Renaissance, and Langston Hughes is buried there. His ashes are there.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's some good information. Now, does she live with Edgecombe Avenue?
That's where WEB lived. She lived on 7th Avenue.
Okay, all right. I have a customer. As a matter of fact, and I'll talk to you about it now and after the show. One of our longtime customers that's been buying books from us since we started Kush City. She lives in New York on Edgecombe Avenue.
Yeah, 409 Edgecombe is the big apartment. 409 Edgecombe. Yeah.
So she's been in the same co-op for 60 years.
Yeah.
And she's 80.
That's a world famous building.
Yeah, and she talks about that, all the people that have lived there.
Yeah.
Awesome. And she wants an autographed copy of your book. So I told her you were gonna be on the show, and we're gonna figure out how to get that to her.
We will definitely do that. We will do that.
So we don't have that much time left. I want to know about your tour and all the travel, because you did a lot of work promoting this book. What's a couple of things that happened on your tour that were interesting or exceptional?
Well, it stood out. My launch party was at the Kennedy Center, which was amazing. And we had it was my chapter for Delta Sigma Theta. 300 people were there, dressed up like it was 1919. Abby Phillip was my in conversation person, the moderator. So that was really cool. People flew in from all parts of the country. Then the next night, so you think you can't get any better than the Kennedy Center? The one place where I wanted to sign was at the Schomburg, because that was the Library of the Harlem Renaissance. That's where Jesse met all of the authors. That's where, she took them. They had poetry readings there and everything. That's where Langston Hughes, as I said, is buried. And they usually don't take books like mine, because that's kind of, they're kind of poo-poo she, but they knew I had been researching there, because the lady knew I was the co-author of The Personal Librarian. And they knew I was doing research there. So when I asked to sign there, my publicist tried to get them, and they were saying, no. Then they said yes. So my second night was at the Schomburg. So the Kennedy Center, the Schomburg, all the things in between. Then one night I was supposed to do something with you, and I ended up speaking at the Barbara Bush Literacy Foundation.
Nice.
Amazing, 1,400 people. I sat next to Neil Bush at lunch. He was the person that put it together. That DNA in that Bush family runs deep, man, because I thought he was his brother. He looked just like George W. He laughed like this, the way they. And so, but a wonderful program. I was on with Kelsey Grammer. So that's not too bad with his book. So that was good. So I've had such wonderful, those are just 3 of some of the top ones. I signed recently at the historic Alfred Street Baptist Church here in the Washington, D.C. area. That was amazing. So I've had and one of the best things for me, I'm from an HBCU. Hampton always welcomes me back. Always. Like that is a done deal. But I have my MBA from New York University Stern School of Business, one of the top 20 MBA schools in the country. When they called me back this year to speak there, and now they have me doing it in September at 2 other locations, that was a big honor. So I've had some really amazing signings, and you know what it feels like? It feels like like I'm opening a Christmas gift. You know, I grew up on Temptation, right? And I'm used to, 20, 30, maybe 40 people showing up for a book signing. But now it's always 200, 300 people, and it's still just amazing. Like a small signing for me now is 100 people. And so I feel like it's God put this gift here, and every night I get to unwrap it.
Oh, and now I don't know if we had the conversation.
Oh no, I was just saying, it's come a long way. I remember.
Came a long way, right?
And I know our time is just about up.
Yes.
But you offer a piece of encouragement. There are a lot of authors who are watching. There are some authors out there, let's be real, who think that they should have your level of success right out the gate.
Yeah, she's an overnight sensation.
I'm an overnight success after 28 years. An overnight success. Man, after 28 years, this is what I will tell people, because it gets really hard out here to do this thing. And I've been doing this thing. We're laughing about it, but you two know the struggles I've been through over these 28 years. And when the digital market came and kind of blew us all up and messed up everything. And there were so many times, I'm not even kidding you, where I wanted to quit. The only reason I'm still doing this is because I was like, I can't do nothing else. I had been writing for so long. What was I going to leave and go do? I'm not kidding. I wanted to give up. But I always think about the fact that if I had given up, I wouldn't be a 2 times New York Times bestselling author. I can't even tell you how many weeks I've been on USA Today bestsellers list. I wouldn't have 5 movies on Lifetime. I wouldn't have all of that, an NAACP Image Award. I wouldn't have all of that if I had given up. And so that's what I will tell people, that your overnight success will come. I also will tell people I didn't make New York Times bestsellers list for the first time until I was 65. And so you are never too old.
Yeah,
that's what I'll tell people. It's never too late.
Mm-hmm. So, in closing, I don't know if we ever had the conversation that I told you I'm from Newport News. Did I ever tell you that?
No.
My brothers went to Hampton. So anyway, that's another. I'm from Newport News. That's my hometown. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, that's funny.
Well, I know you're having Brandon coming on next, so
yes,
I don't want to take
him. So I just Harlem Rhapsody is available wherever books are sold. Go get your copy, and I'll be in touch about the autograph copy for my good client who was at the Schomburg when you were there.
Oh, was she?
She went to the event at the Schomburg.
And they sold out before I started speaking.
Yes, and she said that they sold out, so she didn't get her copy.
Yeah, so they sold out. Well, thank you to 2 of my favorite ladies. So good to see both of you. Gwen, thank you for being in my corner for the 28 years. That's how I became an overnight success, because you have been in my corner for 28 years. And Rhonda, ain't nobody else ever have driven from Belgium to Germany to see me. That you are the only person who has ever done that for me. So thank you.
I was honored to do it.
Yeah, thanks so much for being on the show again, and we'll be on the lookout for your next book, which I know is somewhere in the future, somewhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm working on edits now. So thank you, ladies.
Okay, have a great
night. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, well, that was Victoria Christopher Murray, and we are going to move right along. Another author that's really doing some great things and selling a lot of books, completely different genres, but and I've known Brandon a similar amount of time. And Brandon, you have the same name as my almost son-in-law.
You're almost son-in-law. I think I saw your daughter's getting married.
Yeah, right? The 14th of this month.
Oh, that's cool. Congratulations.
And her intended is named Brandon. So
cool.
And he's a good guy too. So
good. But
I was just I met you in a similar time frame. It was after, but it was a similar time frame to when I met Victoria. Although I think what happened was I think both of you all were at our first book festival. But I knew Victoria before then. Like
Mhm.
I don't know if I met you before you were at the first festival, but I had
And
met.
actually, I had come to your store,
When,
oh gosh, it was probably like 20 years ago.
yeah, Okay,
Yeah,
so you did that before the festival.
yeah.
Well, and what
Because
was the
how
book
long
that
he's been
you remember what the
around.
book
Because
was?
as long as we've known each other, Gwen, I have never set foot in your store. You sold my books in your store. I remember one time I wanted to sign in your store, and you told me where your store was, and I think I was on the whole different part of Houston. I was like, "Oh shoot, I'm not gonna be able to make it over there." So I
Well,
never
it
had
was
a chance
10
to go to your
years
store.
from 2000 to 2010. We saw a lot of people.
Mhm.
And, the Victoria was talking about the digital world, and Amazon really is what interrupted a lot of
Yeah,
independent bookstores. When
yeah.
Amazon really like got big, they really blew
Mhm.
up. Um,
Mhm.
it killed a lot of book
Yeah,
sales for a time, and
right.
it kind of had to go through a catharsis. And
Mhm.
now a few bookstores survived it, not many, but there have been others that have grown and launched since then in the last 5 years.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that too. Hmm.
Yes, some of the young people are thinking of ways to do stores. You
Hmm.
know, um, that were when I was doing it. That's when you have more passion than sometimes you have more passion than you do sense. But uh, you know, I tell people you don't do this solely for money,
No, you don't. You certainly don't.
because you can find easier ways to make money quicker and
Much
with less
easier,
of a headache,
yes.
much easier.
And you
But you
Absolutely.
do
can
it
do it for
because you believe in it.
Hmm.
That's why you do it. So you have a new book too. I haven't had a chance to get it because it just came out. So I didn't have
Yeah,
a
I
chance to
do.
get my shipment in before the show. But it's called
Good
Good
intentions.
Intention.
Yeah.
So you
Yep.
have a copy. Okay, you have your copy of it.
Yep.
And Brandon writes mysteries, and our book club has read like your last 7 or 8 books. And I'm sure we'll read this one. But your last book, it was bad something.
Bad influence.
Bad influence.
Bad
Okay.
influence. Yes.
Okay, well,
That
I need
book,
to know because I think Social Book Club has, I don't know, she has them mixed up because she asked about bad intentions. So you have bad
bad
influence
influence.
and good
Yeah,
intentions.
it's kind of confusing, I guess. Yeah,
Because she wants to
bad
know when you're doing a
influence.
signing.
Yeah, bad influence was last year's book, and now good intentions is the one that just literally just came out last week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
May 30th, I think it was.
Yep.
Um,
Friday. Yep.
and your books always have several arcs in them. Sometimes people ask, what is an arc? Well, an arc is when you read a book and you go, wow, or I don't believe it, or it's some kind of thing that happens that makes you have a response, and it
Yeah.
makes you keep reading, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah. And yeah. And for this book, so this Good Intentions is about it's about a man, Nathan Noble or Nate Noble. He's a business owner in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area, and very successful. Still, kind of building on things though. About to also get married, and then he encounters purely by coincidence someone that he went to school with, but hadn't seen this person in 30 years. The last time he saw him, they were both 12 years old, and their last encounter actually was very tragic. His friend, his name's Marvin Waters, actually murdered. Marvin murdered his own stepfather,
yeah,
and Nathan saw this, like he saw the aftermath of this happen. He literally walked in on it at the time that it happened, and Marvin was, he spent time in, juvenile detention and, apparently prison, kind of went down a bad path after that. But Nathan hasn't seen him in 30 years. And then he runs into him literally at a grocery store after work. And, he feels some level of, Nate feels some level of guilt about his last encounter with Marvin because Marvin's stepfather was extremely abusive. And Nate, he was best friends with Marvin, so he knew some idea what was happening. He would see, like belt marks, sores on the back of Marvin's back, when he would change clothes for gym class at school. So Nathan, he did something and he never told anyone what he did, not even his mother, but he basically wrote a letter, an anonymous letter, um, telling the school that they need to investigate Marvin's stepdad because Marvin is being abused and his mother is being abused, but no one's doing anything. So Nate slips this anonymous note under the door of the principal's office, thinking he can help, thinking something good will happen of this. And that same day, that same evening, is when the big blow up happens with Marvin's family. And Marvin kills his stepfather, apparently in self-defense. But Nate has always felt like his actions were the catalyst for that to happen. So he's harbored this sense of guilt for 30 years, and he was never able to find he was never able to reconnect with Marvin. Couldn't find him on social media or anything. Until they just have that chance meeting in the grocery store parking lot. And Marvin actually works at the grocery store, and it just looks like he's been having a rough life. He looks a lot older than he is. He should be 42 years old, but it looks like he's way older than that. Scar on his face. Just looks like he's been living a rough life. And so that's how they end up connecting again. And from there, Nate basically offers Marvin a job at one of his stores that he owns. And it's kind of what the story is about. Good intentions. You're trying to do a good thing, help somebody out, which is very important to Nate. He knows that Marvin's an ex-con. He knows that. He doesn't care. He thinks he needs a second chance. He needs somebody to reach back and give him a chance. I'm going to be that guy. But it turns out some people, they may not necessarily be the right person for you to extend that generosity to. And then Marvin has his own intentions, if you will, on how he's going to sort of manipulate this situation for his own benefit. So that's sort of the high level storyline, but there's a lot of twists and turns from there. I know one of the things that people will ask is, well, where did you get the idea for this particular story? And although nothing like this has ever happened to me, I did go to school with someone who was extremely bright. And around, I'd say when we were in ninth grade, freshman year of high school, he just kind of fell off the map. And I had no idea what happened to him. But I thought he was having some type of issues in his house, in his family. Now, this guy was extremely bright, like advanced placement classes. And then my mom told me that she saw him several years ago, and he was just working as an usher at a movie theater. I was like, you're kidding me. That guy, like, you would have thought he would have gone to Ivy League college, It's like, what happened? What happened? How did things what path did he take? What happened? And I thought about that. That was actually the inspiration for this story, is just, there are these pivotal moments that people have in their lives, or, where they just kind of make these choices, things happen, and they can have lifelong repercussions. And for Nate in this story, his good intentions actually turned out to be a bad thing, for his friend. So yeah, that's what this one's about.
Now, I was expecting this book to be a sequel to the other book. And then I was reading the names of the people, and I said, I don't remember these people being in bad influence. Because the way it ended like there was going to be a sequel.
No, I've never done a sequel. Not
Oh,
yet. Not
yeah,
yet.
okay.
I'm not saying I
Well,
won't,
see, a
but
lot of people are doing series now,
yeah,
and so I thought you had jumped on that bandwagon, and
maybe I should.
no, well, no, your books are
And
great as standalones. I
is
think
it a
they're great.
conscious
The
decision
standalones.
not to do sequels?
Yeah, it is. I just literally have so many ideas for stories that when I think about doing a sequel, my thought is, oh, I'm gonna have to spend 6 months writing a sequel, but I already have this other totally new idea that I want to explore, and I just end up exploring the new idea. And I've thought about sequels like Dark Corner. Probably I get more questions about a sequel to that than anything. And I wrote that book 20 years ago, and I
Yep.
still get asked about a
I
sequel to
read it
that one.
20 years ago,
Yeah.
and it's
Um,
still in my top 20 of all
yeah.
time.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
It hasn't been like nobody has replaced it. I mean, other books have been replaced. But you know, when
Yeah.
a book is solid, uh, just an excellent book, it's not common. It's
Yeah.
almost like a masterpiece, a song. It was the same as art, or
Hmm.
painting, or uh,
Hmm.
when it's just great, or a movie, the
Yeah.
classic movies that people watch over and over and over.
Hmm.
It's like that. It's if
Well,
it's
thank
good,
you.
it's just good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Dark Corner is. I really need to go back and reread it and I don't reread books. I've only reread one book in the last 30 years,
Which book?
and it was a book by J. California Cooper
Oh, yeah.
called The
Okay.
Wake of the Wind. And
Okay.
it was like 15 years after I read the first time, I read it again. And it was
Hmm.
equally, and that's on my list too.
I find as I get older that I don't always remember books that I already read, and then I'll pick up a book thinking, okay, I'm gonna check this out. It looks interesting. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I read this 15 years ago.
That happened to me. I picked up I knew it was an older book when I picked it up, but I picked it up anyway because for some reason when I read the synopsis, it didn't ring. I was like, oh, this is a continuation of a
Mhm.
book I had read before. It didn't hit me that it was the actual book that I'd read before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I do audiobooks all the time. So I'm listening to
Yes.
it, I'm like, wait a minute,
Hmm.
because I had bought this book.
Hmm.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that's a good thing that for that author that they can
Oh,
write
yeah.
something that still captures your interest, but it just upsets me
Absolutely.
when I pick up a book I've already read.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and when you
Absolutely.
read a lot, the storylines, the plots, it becomes a blur unless there's something to really grab
Hmm.
you about it.
Hmm.
Because it's kind of like you're churning books and you're just reading them and reading them. And uh, well, a lot of authors, I won't say every, but you have a writing style that grabs a person. And your book, the last one, Bad Influence, uh, elicited the most conversation
Really?
at our book club meeting of any book we read for the whole year.
Wow.
Because we couldn't we didn't like that the bad girl, I forgot her name, but the
Scarlet.
girl who
Yeah.
was crazy. We Everybody was saying, what, why didn't they know she was crazy? And we had a great conversation about that book. And
Good.
then I haven't read, like I said, I haven't read a book by you that I didn't enjoy. I enjoy some more than others, but
Yeah.
I haven't read a book. I
Thank you.
haven't read a book by you that seemed like you just went through the motions.
Yeah, that's good.
Some
Yeah.
authors do that. It's just like formulaic, where it's, but I haven't read a book by you that fits that.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. I'm glad because it doesn't come out. It's always a challenge. Every book is a challenge in a different way. And even though with good intentions, it's a little bit shorter than than what I normally do. Like it was like 59,000 words. Um, Bad Influence is about 76,000 words. But anyway, even though it was a shorter book, it still had a lot of challenges with writing it because one of the things with these characters that I try to really work on is, on one hand, the reader is reading about this character, Nate, who's trying to be a good guy, good intentions, right? Do the good deed. And you start to get frustrated with him because you're like, why do you keep trying to be nice to this dude, Marvin, who's clearly not worth it? And it was a challenge to write that in a way where you would not just lose all sympathy for Nate. But he is just truly one of those stand-up guys where it's hard for him to say no to people. And he was kind of a lot like my grandfather, who was just generous to a fault, even with people who you're like, man, why'd you? My granddad had a business too, and you would just look at some of the folks he had employed for him, and you're like, why is he here? This guy's like, he had one guy who he had a delivery business. One of his employees actually stole one of his trucks, like just took off with it. Granddad still didn't fire him. Like, you is way too nice. No.
Well, did he turn him into the police?
I mean, they recovered the truck, but he was just someone who he would just keep giving people second and third chances. And he employed people who literally they could not have gotten a job anywhere else.
Okay.
So, a lot of black men had prison records, just problems. And he was just trying to, do what he could. And, they're just people who are like that. I'm not saying I'm like that. I'm not that patient, but I wanted to write about a character who was. And it's just funny as people starting to post reviews and they expressing frustration with him. It's like, he's just too nice. Why would he not?
Person.
Right.
But, it is when you write characters, you can like think about someone in your past or even your present that kind of reminds you of the person. It really is kind of like a model for what you're writing in terms of behaviors, habits, responses to things. I've been self-employed for most of my adult life, and I'm not that kind of employer like your grandpa. I was in a minute. I was five. And I want to tell you a quick story. My my dad was a pastor, but we also had a home for the elderly and a daycare that he was the president of those two associated with the church. And he would come home and tell us stories about employees. And one of them at the home for the elderly, because my dad was a night owl, so he might leave the house at 10 or 10:30 at night just to go over there, just like to pop up to surprise the staff, because there were people living there. There were elderly people living there. They weren't sick. They were just, some of them had like dementia or whatever. But anyway, one night he went to the home for the elderly, and one of his employees was taking like turkeys that were in the freezer at the home and putting them in the trunk of her car.
Oh my gosh.
And stealing the food from the home. And my dad, he pulled up, and like, I'm caught. He fired her immediately. So
caught red-handed.
Different people have different management styles. I'll put it like that. When you're managing people, some people do have more patience and give people more grace than others. Your grandpa sounds. I don't know, what kind of business did he have?
It was a regional delivery business, so just sort of like a UPS, but just in there. This was in Illinois, just maybe like a 100-mile, 200-mile radius that they would service.
Okay.
They had that business for about 20 years or so. Just all kinds of different experiences. I worked for him actually for several years, so that was a great experience. That's why I tend to write about entrepreneurs, just because I was exposed to that lifestyle at an early age. And I know how it is. It's you're your own boss, and there's a lot that comes with that, good and bad. But it was just something that made a really strong impression on me. Yeah.
And I noticed most of your characters, when it's a male character, they're in the same age bracket, like 40s. It's like the
Well,
midlife crisis type thing.
yeah. Well, now, now I'm in my 50s, so I'm making my characters younger than me. So they're still in their 40s, even though I passed on into my 50s. I don't know if people want to read about 50 plus year old men. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll try that. But yeah, I'm just trying to find that zone of people who are, they're hit a certain level of maturity. Um, I don't know if I could write about like a 25-year-old anymore. I don't know because I don't know what they're doing. Like, what are they doing right now? I'm not connected to that, age that set anymore. But yeah, so I tend to write about more mature men and black men who are, they're going through. They're usually what I like to do is we've got the main character who's a black man, and then usually paired up with a woman who's maybe a spouse, not always, but usually. um that's just what I'm comfortable with. That's kind of like my, I guess, for lack of a better term, my formula. um but I don't see a whole lot of other people doing that, so I feel okay with that. I feel like that's kind of what I have to offer. And then I'm just within that certain structure. I'm looking
You
for,
change that
you know,
formula, people would notice.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you look like at that Walter Mosley, for example. He's writing about black male heroes. That's his thing, and it's a need. It's something we need. We need those stories. So yeah, I just feel like that's my own little voice, my contribution, if you will, and just keep trying to find different ways to engage people, within that realm. Yeah.
You
I'm
think this
trying to
story?
get my backdrop back. I don't know what happened. I did stop video and then my background left. I'm still working on it. But I'm here. I'm just trying to fix it.
It's okay. It's okay. No, I was just saying, do you think there's a story that you would like to write that you just haven't waded into those waters yet?
Um, yeah, there's plenty. The thing is about it's easy to get a story idea, but a lot of the story ideas may not be the story that I'm supposed to write. And it just has to feel like something that I'm capable of writing. And I've talked about this before, is like I will oftentimes start a book, get to about a halfway point, and then I run out of ideas, run out of gas with it. Then I'll come back to it years later and I see a way to finish it, and then I'll finish it. So, stories, certain stories, you just can't force them out. I think you have to um, give it time to develop. But at the same time, I do want to provide at least one book a year for people, because this is still a business, so you just can't
Right.
take
You
years
can't
and years.
disappear.
Yeah, I mean, if you do that, you have to come back with something that's an absolute masterpiece that gets people talking, like Tananarive do. She hadn't published a book in 7, 8, 9 years at least. Then she did The Reformatory, which
Mhm.
is blowing away everything she's ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I had to put the book down because it was got
Yes.
so rough. I'm like, oh
It was
my God.
emotionally. It was.
Before I can't say that I enjoyed the book. I had to
Yeah.
experience the book because the
Mhm.
story was just so
It was
unnecessary.
heartbreaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I still need to finish. I got to about the halfway mark, and I was like, okay, Tananarive, I gotta put it down for now. It's just I'm too scared. It's just like I write this stuff, and I'm like, I'm too scared to even go along with these characters anymore. It's too much. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I finished it. It was a very well done book.
Yeah.
I listened to audio, and I've got to tell you that the narration was top tier. You
Yeah.
could
Mhm.
you could every voice you knew who the character was.
Oh,
They
okay.
they just did that well with it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Mm. And I know last time you were on, you were saying that you did audiobooks for your books, and they've done well on audio.
Yeah, that's yeah, and for this one, Good Intentions, I was able to took some doing, but I was able to work with William Wells. He's the one who's narrated like now it's 6 books of mine. But we were able to coordinate it so that the audio edition was available the very same day that the other editions were available. So everything went live at the same time because you get people who especially when you're publishing independently, they feel like, oh, well, when are you going to give us an audiobook? I don't want to wait 6 months. And they'll ask you when the audiobook's ready. And you're like, oh, it's not ready yet. It'll be ready later this year. Who knows if they'll remember to even listen to it later. So I just wanted to all be ready on the same day. Just because, I've found that probably about 40% of my audience wants the audiobook. And so I feel very strongly, I feel very strongly that let's just make the book available in whatever format people want to read it in, want to experience it in from day one. And people seem to, appreciate that. So that's going to be what I try to continue to do going forward.
Well, we're at the end of our time, but go ahead and show us the book cover one more time for your brand new book, Good Intentions. I'm definitely going to be getting a copy. And on my next shipment of books, I will have my own copy of that. And I'm looking forward to reading it. And I'm sure our book club will have another really intense discussion.
All right. Thank you all both. Thank you. I always enjoy talking to y'all. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Okay, y'all too. Have a good one.
That thing happened to me once before where I had to stop the camera for 1 second and then I brought it back on and then my background was gone. But the other times I've done it, like in between, it hasn't done that.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. I don't know what causes that. If I knew what caused it, and it took me a lot of trying to click it and re-click it and do the green screen again before I could fix it. But anyway, our first 2 guests were very, very, very good. Then we have 2 amazing guests for the second half of the show. And there was a question on here before we go forward that I didn't want to overlook. Oh, this is not what it was, but I am going to mention it. The Social Book Club. She says she's in New York and the 60-year-old men think they're 30. I saw that. Some people just never really grow up. Anyway, our next guest is with Black Odyssey Media, and we have their authors on the show on a regular basis. Normally, we try to have them on close to their book release date. And so Marc's book, Discipline, came out last Tuesday. So we're close to the release date. So we want to welcome Marc to Black Authors Matter TV. And if you can unmute, I'm going to ask you to unmute so we can hear you.
How you guys doing?
Doing great. Now, I see your book is your backdrop.
Yeah. I had to do it.
It's a giant size rendering of your book cover. Now, Discipline, is it what people might think it is? Like when Discipline comes to mind, I think about it could be like a gang or like a crime family and what happens to people who get out of line. But
Gwen's over here writing her own story.
Oh, well, no, I'm just wondering what is the name, the one word title, is it what the book is about?
So I just had a book signing in Rehoboth, Delaware, and somebody walked in and was like, "Are they a gang?" And I was like, no, he's just one person. And the significance of discipline is it's his nickname. And then you figure out as the story goes along how he got the nickname and why his name is discipline. But he does deal with people that get out of line. So you were accurate on that.
Okay. Okay. So do you have a book with you, like so we can see the whole cover? Like, do you have a copy of your book that you can put up in front of the camera?
Can you see it? I don't know if
okay, put it close to you. Normally that's what allows us to see it. And then raise it up a little bit. Well, in front of your face. But
like that.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, all right. Sorry. So now, is this your first book? I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Is this your first book? Is this your first book with Black Odyssey Media? And is this the first book along these lines, or is it part of a series? Tell us about the book.
So this will be my 4th book. I wrote 2 books. I used to have a publishing company, and I wrote 2 books through myself or through the company. Okay. Then the second or my 3rd book, I released that through Urban Books a few years ago. And then the 4th book would be my first book with Black Odyssey Media. And the plan is to have it be a series of interconnected stories, meaning that you could pick up any one of the stories and know where you are in the universe.
Okay. Interesting. So do you have a particular genre that you like to write in?
So I guess I would say I wrote in 3 different genres. They would classify the first 2 as urban fiction. Then the last one I wrote was young adult or new adult. And then this one is just straight crime fiction, which is my favorite. I like anything that has to do with crime. That sounds terrible. But crime fiction,
terrible, Marc.
like I just like all crime. Crime is my thing. But crime fiction, the entire time I was writing those other books, I wanted to write crime fiction. And for some reason, I just thought maybe I couldn't stand next to the people that wrote it for some odd reason. But I love crime fiction. That's what I want to continue to write.
I can imagine why you're attracted to that genre, because when you look at the so-called criminals, the ones that you're writing about, they're very complicated characters. You almost find yourself rooting for them, even though they're committing crimes. And like, for instance, Eric Jerome Dickey's Gideon series. I always call it the Gideon series. But that man was heartless. That character was heartless. He would kill you without thinking about it. But I still found myself rooting for him, because as much as a heartless killer he was, he had a heart of gold when it came to the people that he cared about. So that's what really makes these characters complicated. So I can imagine, I don't know if that's the reason why you enjoy crime fiction. Is it because of the characters that you're able to create, or because you just have a little wicked imagination?
I probably would say it's a combination of both.
Okay.
And it's funny that you bring him up, because he's always a titan to me. He was probably the first author. He made me feel like, not made me feel like, he let me know it was possible for us to be in hardcover, because every time I saw him, he was just on the back of the book. I said, you got to be an ill dude, no synopsis. You got to open the book to read the synopsis. He's just on the back of the book. That's how big of an author he was. So I had heard of the Gideon series a long time ago. And as I got in the mood to write this, I read, he had like an assassin book. The title's escaping me, but I read that book and I was like, wow, that lady's cold-blooded. And I kind of wanted to be in those modes of maybe like the psychological part of the characters. And you are right. I do like that we all do stuff for a reason. And it's not just, oh, he does all these terrible things for no reason. I just wanted to get into like the psychology of why they do that.
Crime fiction seems to be growing among Black authors. I feel like we weren't really seeing a lot of it until the last 5 years or so. We started seeing more of it. That's not well. I was gonna say that's not a genre I read, but I take that back because I have read books in that
Well,
genre
I would
before.
also venture to say, I think, and Mark, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's a little bit of a difference between street fiction, or what some people call gangster fiction, and crime fiction.
Yes,
Uh,
it
there,
is.
there is
Yes, it's two different genres. Mhm. Yeah, crime fiction is more from what I gather. It's more like detectives, and sometimes they'll be chasing a criminal, uh, like that. Whereas, street fiction or urban fiction is more about the criminals themselves. And a lot of times it's drug related or weapons related, from what I gather.
No, that's how they would classify it. And I think with crime fiction, at least for me, it was about not only the psychological depth of the main character, but also the police chasing him.
Yeah.
And I wanted my own Martin and Will, but in Philadelphia, as far as like Bad Boys. And I just wanted like two cool detectives to chase the most horrible human being that they could in Philadelphia. And that's kind of how I formatted the story. Like I already knew the ending. I just had to get them to that point.
Hmm. Yeah, a lot of writers say they know the ending, and they know the beginning and they know the ending, and it's the part in the middle that they have to come up with for the story.
Yeah, that middle part is a doozy. Yeah.
That's where all the words are.
All the words, a lot of
That's where
middle.
it counts.
Get it together. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mark, what would you like people to know about you as a writer? Like, what motivates you as a writer? When did you get started with writing? And what would you say about your writing journey, and like how you got from the first book to this one?
It's been a long, arduous journey. I'm not gonna lie. So when I first started many moons ago, I had this idea to start a publishing company. I just wanted to help people, publish their books and stuff. And I started the company, and I think I published, I want to say 10 books. So I had my first two that they would classify as urban fiction. And then I got it in my head again. I'm always with these ideas to get like traditionally published. And a quick funny story. When I first moved to Delaware, I picked up a book at Amazon off the shelf. I was shelving the books, and it was called "If I Ruled the World," and it had a blurb on there by Erica Badu. And I was like, "How did that author get a blurb, Erica Badu?" That author's name was Joy, right? So I'm querying, and I send her a query. She told me it wasn't ready yet. And I was like, you know what? This lady knows what she's talking about. I'm gonna listen to her. I query, nothing's happening, right? I start writing the new book. I say, you know what? I'm gonna try it again. Let's try to query again. I'm going through the process. Nothing is happening. I say, you know what? I did it before. I can self-publish again. My first on my tour that I'm on now, the first stop was at the bookstore where the owner told me just try one more time, one more query. I said, I don't want to do it. I'm done with this book. I'm gonna light it on fire. She said, one more time. No one's reading it. I sent Joy another email, and she responded back. And she has been my agent since that day. She closed that deal, and then she closed the deal for this book. And this book only exists because I was frustrated with the last book. And discipline probably took on and off, starting, stopping, maybe over 10 years. So it's a little bit, it holds a special place in my heart because I didn't think it would ever see print. And it wasn't even called Discipline. Before 2 titles ago, if it was called Keystone State of Mind, right? But then that's too regional, right? Because you would have to be from Pennsylvania. Then it was A Recipe for Survival. I thought it was okay, but then I got the contract and it said title to be determined. So I guess it wasn't going to be that title. Then I said, he is the book. And what he disciplined, I'm sorry. So he took over the book like Steve Urkel took over Family Matters. He was going to be like he was going to be like a one-off.
I said what you did there.
he was going to be like a side character. And then for I don't know what happened, he became more interesting. And then as I became more frustrated with querying, I gave him more trauma and more killings. And so he became a fully formed monster. And then that's the middle that I didn't have. And then that's how the book came about. And then we said, maybe we should just go with his nickname, because as soon as you see that, you're like, what does that mean? And then when you flip it on the back and read the synopsis, you're going to know what it means. And then that's how it came about. So it's been a very long journey to get to this point.
So it sounds like, but you know that writing is your path.
Yes. Every facet of writing.
When did you realize that?
Probably one of my teachers, Miss Turner, who I have to send her a book. I told her that today. In her creative writing class, like soon as I had to create my own fake city, I was like, okay, I think I really like creating stuff from scratch. But what really solidified it was in 1995. It was a very small movie. You might not have heard of it. It was called Bad Boys, and it was starring these very little known actors, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. And when Will ran down the street, Miami, and I said, okay, I need 2 detectives like them, but in Philadelphia. And from that point, I always had it in my head, suppressed it until I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this now. And then I was like, let's go. And then I started writing it.
So it sounds like Bad Boys made a strong impression on you. So have you seen them all of the Bad Boys movies?
No, only like 98 times. It's a very small amount of.
Sounds like you didn't really like the story or the movie that much, because it would have been 100 if you did.
I would agree. Very mildly entertaining. I would have the class.
I did hear you mention earlier when you said you wanted that Will and Martin in your books. I heard you mention that earlier in the interview. So I could tell that movie did have an impression on your storytelling and basically your imagination. It really captured that.
Yeah, that. You know what else? New York Undercover. And not only, so I went to military school, so staying up was worth getting in trouble for. And I will only try to stay up to get in trouble for 2 things. One was NBA on TNT, and then the other one was New York Undercover. I would sneak downstairs, watch it, because our bedtime was 9:00 at that time. It came on at 9:00. Right. So you know what I mean? So the cool, what I found to be cool about them was they called it like hip hop cops, and they wore like clothes that I wanted to wear, and then JC looked like me, and they were both people of color. And I was like, the one steadfast thing I wanted to do when I created it, I was like, I want 2 people of color. Like they have to be 2 Black men, and I want to give them problems, and they have to talk about how they feel, and they are scared and stuff that you normally wouldn't talk about. They, in their most private moments, with such a high stress job, you get all that too that you may never hear. Maybe you didn't get that with Martin and Will's character, and I just wanted to kind of dig a little teeny bit deeper, but I was steadfast in making them they had to be two people of color because that was important for me as far as representation. So
yeah, Bad Boys had, a lot of comedic moments too.
yeah,
It wasn't just them being cops.
Well,
I
life has
think.
levity.
Hmm.
So life has levity. Even
Oh
in
yes.
moments, you're gonna find something to chuckle about.
Yeah, but since they're
yeah,
both comedians, the actors, they,
yeah.
they really did a good job of balancing that, the
They
action
really did.
with the comedy. Mhm.
They did. They really did.
Yeah, that's interesting that you talked about one of your characters to be black men, and with layers, more not just one or two dimensional, but multidimensional, like human beings are.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I think we are multifaceted. You
yeah.
know, like when I'm at my when I'm at my job, people when they find out that I wrote a book, and they can't help it. Like how your face, they're like, you you wrote a book. Like I can't count to 10. Like I can walk and I can chew bubble gum at the same time. But it's just sometimes I don't know, maybe people are caught off guard or that I love to read too. I get sometimes people are like surprised that, I like reading more than I like watching TV, and I love watching TV. But I but I like reading more, so people have depth. You don't until you get to know them, and then you know those things. But sometimes people don't exactly reveal certain stuff, or maybe they don't even feel comfortable revealing certain stuff. So that gave me the latitude to like say certain stuff maybe I wanted to say through a fictional character that people can relate to on some level. So, or at least I would hope they would.
Yeah. Who was in New York Undercover? I never saw that show.
Malik Yoba, I can't
Yes,
remember the Hispanic guy's name.
Okay,
I'm looking right at him
okay,
in my mind.
okay,
Michael De Lorenzo.
Thank you.
okay. How many seasons was it? Do you know? Like, was it a lot of seasons or just like a couple of seasons?
Now, Wikipedia will tell you that there were 4 seasons. I'm telling you that there were 3. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
That's
So is that
season.
because the fourth season wasn't any good?
Oh,
Or
it was bad. Oh, it was bad.
okay.
I don't acknowledge the last season of Martin.
I hate it
I
when
don't
they
acknowledge it.
ruin a show by going too long, going 1 or 2 seasons when they should have
You
just quit while they were ahead. I hate
you
that.
can't you can't have Martin and Gina not speak to each other. They're the linchpin of the show.
Yeah,
They're like in different rooms.
it was really weird because they really in life weren't speaking to each other, so
Yeah.
they couldn't film together. So he would run into a room right as she left.
They're like, they miss each other by just a few seconds, and I'm like, really? Oh my gosh, that season is so annoying because it's such a great show, and I just hate that they had the problem because it just ruined the great show.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I saw Martin in I didn't see the like beginning to end season. I would see an episode here, episode there. So, and the ones that I liked the most that made me just like fall over laughing were, of course, Shanae when he played that, and when he played his mother, when his mother would be like, it's the one where she's in the church and she was doing flips and all that. I put it up on YouTube. It's so hilarious. But I didn't watch it like beginning to end. I just watched it occasionally. Um, it was good, but I don't watch comedies that much. I like
What's your
drama.
thing? Oh, okay, drama.
I like
Okay.
dramas. I like espionage, action. I actually like shows that men like. I mean, the demographic for the show is strongly male.
Oh, so you were like FBI or
Yeah,
SVU?
Yes.
There we go. I like that.
Yeah.
I like the energy.
Yes. Lately, let's see what the late. Well, it has to be good though. Some it has to have heart.
Yeah.
And
that's very important.
And I like medical and legal shows. So I just finished watching, like right now, and I've seen this show at least 7 or 8 times. I binged it. It's 24. I think that's one of the best done shows. And Kiefer Sutherland, it's Jack, and nobody else could have been Jack. I really like that show.
That's one of those shows you hear about so often, and I don't know how I've never watched an episode of this show, but I'm sure because I have addictive personality. So if I watch one, like if we get done this interview and then I go watch 24, I may email you like, so you told me to watch 24 and now it is my life.
Yeah, watch it. Because it's not just Kiefer Sutherland, it's Dennis Haysbert as the president. He does an amazing job. And the woman who, I can't remember her name, her acting name, but the woman who plays his wife.
Kiefer Sutherland?
No, that plays Dennis Haysbert's wife.
Okay.
She is really good as well, even though she plays like a character that you really like. You can't believe the stuff that she does. You know, she's just really off the rails, but she's great being off the rails. She's just really good. It's a really good show. And like I said, I'm binging it right now for the 7th or 8th time. And it was pretty good. The last season, they could have kept it. Like you said, they could have kept it. I'll watch it. I'm on season 7. So it was 8 seasons. They could have kept that last one, but I am going to watch it. It's just really great TV.
I like that.
So now, have you ever thought about, and most authors do, think about your book on the big screen, like if you had to cast your book for a TV series or a movie, who would you think of that would be disciplined? Who would play the role of discipline?
So I think about it every day.
Okay. I was reading your mind.
Every single day. It doesn't help when people say it reads like it's cinematic when they read it, or they could picture it being a movie, because that just makes you want to get it into like a 6 to 8 episode arc. That's all. That's all I'm asking. I'm just asking for 6 episodes. The funny part about it is I have no idea who would play this one. But for the 2 detectives, I would probably have, M'Baku from Black Panther.
Yes.
Him, and I'm sure both of you know Aaron Pierre. The dude from Rebel Ridge.
Oh yeah.
Them two.
It was a pretty good movie. See, I like that. That was good. It was pretty good.
So them two, and then I wanted if I had to, like, let's say I had to pitch it to somebody, it would be the people behind Bosch, which is a cop show on Amazon Prime.
I told you, I've seen it. If it's made for a man, I've seen it.
I knew I liked you. I watched this show. I just watched it for the 6th time. It's 10. All 10 seasons.
Oh, okay. Then Bosch was good. Bosch was a good show.
If I could, the producer's name is Eric Overmeyer. If I could just get on Eric's radar, just take a look, and then, but yeah, I think about that every day.
Now, in your 2 detectives that you said, the 2 actors, I feel like they are too big to be together. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't mean physically. I mean their personalities.
Yeah.
Normally, when you have 2 cops, one of them is more dominant
than the other one. Yeah. That's where their clash is, though. one of it's so funny.
Saying it would be a clash.
Yeah, it's a clash because one of them, one of them is old. One's older than the other one, and then obviously longer tenured than the other one. So they're both alpha males. So they got to let go of their egos for the betterment of the case, and that was a very fun part to like have them dislike each other. But what's cool about the editing process is the editor will challenge you in a good way, because you might think you wrote something like, yeah, I wrote that scene. It was great. And they'll be like, why don't they like each other? And I was like, well, because they don't like each other. People don't like each other for a myriad of reasons. Why would you come to me and ask me why would they not like each other? But I had to really go back and say, okay, he did this and this is all right. We had to go back to the drawing board and had a legitimate reason why they didn't like each other. And then when they come together, it makes it more fulfilling because it's like in service of a common disdain for that guy. And it makes it more enjoyable when you go through everybody's art, because it's told from all three of their perspectives. So you're inside of their head every time you are reading whichever chapter you're on. So, which I think helps for development's sake, because you can clearly see who this person is. So
certainly have a writer's mind. I mean, I feel like you're telling stories in your mind even when you don't have to.
It's, I'm
not mad at it. I love that.
My mind is working. It's always working. I think that's why I can't sleep sometimes, because I'm always thinking of like, did I mark it enough today? I only said something once. Maybe I should say something again. But that's how my mind is.
Well, congratulations on your book, and continued success with your writing career.
Yes.
And a couple of shows, if you're looking for some like action, if you haven't seen these, on Netflix, there's Night Agent. I don't know if you've seen that. It's 2 seasons, really good show. And I'm not sure which platforms these are on. I think I saw them on MGM or one of them. Anyway, Paramount. But Deep State and Condor, Condor. They're both 2 seasons. They only been 2 seasons for all 3 of those shows. Really, really good.
So now I already have a binging problem. You're gonna have me. I'll tell you an exclusive thing, right? So I'm trying to figure out. I see these like PR boxes, and I was like, I want PR box. I mean, I know I ain't write a fantasy novel or nothing, but I should be able to do this. So today I got some car fresheners. You put on your little window, look on the front, and they're going right into the PR boxes. You're not going to leave me out the PR box game. I'm gonna have some more stuff in there too. I don't know, but some other goodies, but I'm always trying to think of something, a little different.
Creative. So, you have to get people to remember you. And there's lots of writers out there. Well, we're at the end of our time, Marc, and we're excited about your career. And we love having Black Odyssey Media authors on to help give them some promo for their books, and just continue success with what you're doing.
Thank you both. I had a wonderful time. I really appreciate you guys for having me.
Okay. We appreciate you being here, and best wishes to you and all that you do.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we're at the final interview for tonight, and this is a children's author. I think her name is Syrone. I don't think it's Syrone. I think it's Syrone, but if I'm wrong, she'll correct me. And she has a series of children's books, and The Adventures of Nisi and Nene, and I believe she has other books as well. So, and she goes by Nene. I think she goes by Nene herself. Do. Okay,
I sure do.
So welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm super thrilled to be here. And just like you mentioned, yes, I do go by, well, my middle name is Shanae, and my twin sister, you know how those Black moms were always creative about naming their kids, especially twins. So my twin sister's name is Simone Shanice, and mom had to figure out a creative name to go with Simone, so she named me Syrone Shanae. And we started going by our middle names when we were a lot younger. And they just shortened it. Instead of saying, hey, twins, they would say Nisi, Nene. And that's what we went by, is Nisi and Nene. And it was a lot easier for them to call us by Nisi and Nene. And that's what kind of stuck when we started doing the books. That's what basically evolved. And we started using the terms Nisi and Nene.
So did your twin sister write the books with you?
Yes, it was a collaborative effort.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the unique thing about the books, it's a four book series, and book 3 just came out today. So we're super thrilled about that because today is our book birthday. But the unique thing about the books is that we wrote them collaboratively together. However, each book has a different voice. So the point of view of book 1 is Nisi, and then book 2 is Nene's version. And then book 3, of course, is Nisi's, and then we go back to book 4 being Nene's version. So it's kind of like the way they saw it. And with their unique personalities, they kind of see it from a different angle, but it makes it super fun.
Okay, now
your
well, you took my question, but go ahead.
No, I was just gonna see what age range is your books, are your books geared toward?
So the books are chapter books. They're early chapter books, and they're geared for like ages 6 to, it could be 5 to 8 or 9. And the reason being is we have some larger words in some of the stories, but we have a glossary. So, you know, for kids who like to challenge themselves and pronounce words like conundrum and things like that, you know, there's always a little bit of a challenge for them. We found that just kind of being out there at the schools, the kids that are as early as kindergarten love them, but kids that are a lot older also love them. So, you know, I think they're characters that can read across the board.
Yeah, you asked the same question I was going to ask Rhonda. That's why I said you took.
Well, we always do that.
We think alike.
We think alike. Yep, yep. Nisi and Nene think alike, and when they do that, they double snap, and it's kind of like same, and that's what happens with twins. We think a lot alike. Double snap.
Okay.
So,
are you identical twins?
We are identical twins. We are.
Okay. So it's true that twins do everything together, or a lot of things together, or at the same time.
Yes, and it's double the mischief. And so that's why we base the books. The books really evolved from our childhood. You know, we grew up in a time where imagination was key. And, mom would put us outside and go play and say, go play. And we did that. We went in and we made mud pies. We climbed trees. We did all the things that, kids our age did. And but we had it 2 times the fun because there was 2 of us. So, we got into trouble, and either mom was going to discipline both of us, or she was going to discipline, or not discipline at all, because it was 2 of us. So we always got into something. And, but it was always so much fun. There was always something going on.
So could your mom tell you all apart from day one? Or did she ever get you all mixed up?
I think she did get us mixed up. We were born preemies, and so I was a little bit more, I guess I was a little healthier, and so I came home first. And so I came home a month earlier, and then Simone stayed in, she stayed in the neonatal ward. And so mom got a chance to kind of get to know me a little bit more, but at the same time, we had a lot of people that had a hard time telling us apart. And as most people do, they just called us twins, and whoever answered first, that was it. So
yeah. Do you have other siblings?
We do. We have one older sister, and she's 3 years older. And she didn't look like a twin, but my mom would dress us all alike, like we were triplets, just for the fun of it. So, but it was always a lot of fun and adventure. And we grew up in the library era, and so books were very, very key with my mom especially. She made sure that we lived in the library, and she made sure that we checked out books, not just for ourselves, but we would exchange books. So, and we got to the point where our librarians got to know us, because they're like, those were those girls that just like, they just absorb books. So they would put aside all the new books for us. Simone would get 10, 11 books. I would get 10, 11 books. And within a certain amount of time, we would exchange them. And so we grew up on books, and that was, one of the things that got us really started into wanting to write about and capture books, for our kids.
I really believe I grew up on books as well. But now kids just have so many, there are so many things competing for kids' attention. I mean,
Yes.
between TV, video games, computers, then social media.
Media.
There are so many things that are competing for kids' attention that I almost feel bad that they didn't have. I feel like my mom's saying this, but we had the simpler life.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can read books.
Yes.
And go outside like Syrone was describing. We
Yes.
spent a lot of time outdoors. We
Yes.
weren't inside watching anything. We were outside,
Yes.
and we made up games, or we just played like the standard games.
Right. Right.
We would make up games.
I think this is what makes it so difficult in the children's kid lit trenches. It's really difficult because, with adult books, the adults go out to the stores. They buy the books, they read the books, they know they're coming out. Kids have to be led by the adults to be like, hey, this is a good book. Why don't you try to read this? Versus a child is not going to pick up a book on their own and just like, I really want to read this book. So if you've got a parent that wants to take a child to a library, that's a good way of finding out, or to a bookstore. But most kid authors have the biggest challenge of getting their books out there underneath that the scope, so that kids actually are aware of them. Unless you're someone who's very well known, it's very hard to get kids to know about your books and to want to read them. And so it's a huge challenge for kid authors.
And there are a lot of children's authors who are releasing books.
Yes.
At this year's book festival, we have about 35 children's authors signed up already.
It's
and we have a children's festival where they get to be together, and so children can come, and based on the age group reading level, we have authors representing all ages, from toddlers up to the teens. So the parents do really a good job of bringing the kids.
It's a beautiful thing. And I think the collaboration and the desire to write these books was that we felt that there was such a lack when we were growing up. We went looking for books that were similar to Beverly Cleary's Ramona and Beezus and Ramona series. That's what I grew up on. But there weren't any Black characters that we could relate to that had fun, other than Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred Taylor. And there was nothing wrong with that book. The classic books are wonderful for children, but to find fun, imaginative books, such as, like I said, Beverly Cleary, there weren't any. For Black kids. And so, this was especially important for us to be able to find a way to present books that our kids could see themselves reflected in the pages, that they could understand the language and, just some of the adventures that the twins get into. We want the books to be relatable. We want the kids to have fun and to giggle, just the way we did when we were reading Beezus and Ramona. Our kids need that.
Now, are you also, I believe you're also a literary agent.
I
Is that
am.
true?
I
That's what
am.
I thought. So how did
Yes.
you end up? Now, were you an agent first before you did the books, or did you do the books and then become an agent?
No, I actually have had a very eclectic career. I worked as a journalist. I did a lot of freelance opportunities. I did some reality TV interviews. I did some music venues, and I did a lot of reporting and stuff like that. And then ended up doing a lifestyle magazine. I was an executive editor for a lifestyle publication for a while. And so I kind of jumped all over the place for a little bit. And then we started writing the books. Again, like I said, it evolved from our childhood. And then at the same time, I was still working in that arena and was doing some interning and all of that. And then became a literary agent just as the books were just starting to get produced. So, you know, so that kind of came after the fact. Excuse me. But what I love the most about this particular avenue is that I really want to see Black authors have a voice, and I want to see Black authors excel and succeed. And so that was one of my desires to being able to do the agent part of this, is just to make sure that our Black authors have a voice, and that I mean, there's so many that are out there, and it's just a pleasure being able to be a part of that process for them.
So, are there particular types of authors that you represent in terms of genre?
So I'm looking at adult fiction. Predominantly, I'm looking at adult fiction, and I'm looking middle grade, also children's. I do look at children's picture books and all of that. I'm not really looking at a lot of nonfiction. Inspirational, motivational, Christian. I'm doing all of that as well. So I'm open to a lot of genres.
Oh,
We were talking earlier when Victoria Christopher Murray was on. I mentioned the author on TikTok who had just joined TikTok like a little over a month ago, has already gotten 170,000 followers. And he was offered a 2-book deal, and he hasn't even written his book yet. And he
Unbelievable.
mentioned that I can't wait to write this book. And then the whole Twitterverse, the whole TikTok verse just went crazy and got upset with them.
Yes.
Backlash against them. I don't know if you heard about this. And I was talking when I brought this up to Victoria, she hadn't heard about it, but I said it reminded me of you because you had gotten a 7-movie deal and you had only written 2 of the books. The other books. So often publishers are looking for a following. They're looking for somebody with influence.
They
So
are.
saying that as an agent, how do you help prospective authors to as prospective clients to understand that? And then what do you look for that will give you an idea of whether this person is going to work for it, whether this person is going to sell?
Social media following is really important. However, with our agency, we do accept debut authors. And so it's not just, if you have 600,000 followers plus. I mean, that does help. However, I work with a lot of clients that are, I love being able to be a part of the development process. So some of the clients that I work with don't have a major following. It's not a prerequisite for them to be able to be successful as they're, getting started. But I do know that there are a lot of people that want only clients that have just a huge, ginormous following on so many different levels. That's why I believe that so many authors need a chance, and they have a great voice, but no one wants to give them that opportunity because they don't have a million followers. So So yeah, I want to be a part of that process. And ironically, Victoria and I love Victoria. I remember seeing her probably about 24 years ago. Like she probably wouldn't even remember, but I love seeing so many of our authors who just really excel because it gives other authors, debut authors, a chance to look at and aspire to be just like the authors that do so well.
Yeah, we just emphasize to aspiring authors that it takes 20 years to become an overnight success.
Yes, yes,
It might not be
yes.
20, but it's, most of the time it's at least 10.
It's
You know,
yes,
then a
yes,
person blows up. It's like they've been working in the trenches, and then, like Victoria said, then some things start happening. But
yes. It's a little different for in the children's sector, to be really honest with you. Like I said, there's a lot of things that deter children's book authors, and it's because if you are a picture book author, for some reason there's so much more of a trend with those books. They're, easily seen, they're easy to pick up, easy to grab, easy to read. However, a children's chapter book is not so easy because you're looking at now targeting kids that desire what they want. They want graphic novels, they want comic books, they want anime, so to look at a book that
Novels have
has a
come
little bit more substance.
No,
And
I
it's
just
up
said
to the
graphic novels have come a really long way. I look at
they
them,
have, they have.
Yes, yes, yes. And
Yeah.
gone are the days where you can read a book that has no pictures. In a children's book,
Mm.
pictures are almost a necessary thing because children want to be able to see, they want to be able to engage, they want to be able to interact. And, that's one of the best ways of being able to do that. And so, thankfully our books do have pictures. At the end, we have like I mentioned, the glossary, but we also have an activity after each book. The first book, book one, has a recipe for snickerdoodle cookies. It's amazing. Book two has an activity to paint rocks for the community and, leave a special message and then put it around in the community. And then book three, because it's about community gardening and composting and just so much fun, it has a book for zucchini chocolate cake. So every book has something. The beauty of the books is that it is multicultural, intergenerational. The twins are being raised by a single dad after losing their mom. Their big mama is their grandma who is raising them as well, who helps dad. Dad is a primatologist who studies chimpanzees. And because he does that, Big Mama is the one that encourages and that keeps them going. But the community is a small enough community that it allows them to get to know, everyone in the community, from the hairdresser to, the favorite man in the community, Mr. Otis, which is what book two was about. Was Mr. Otis he had no teeth, he just had gums, and he wanted to eat some of Miss Annie's great fried chicken and corn on the cob, and he couldn't because he had no teeth. So Nisi and Nene decided to borrow Big Mama's extra pair, and hence Big Mama and Daddy found out, and it ended up being a disaster. I can't see that picture, but it ended up
Put it
being a
closer to
disaster.
you. Put it
So it
closer
ended
to
up,
you. So you're saying they borrowed their book mama's
they
extra
borrowed their
set
Big Mama's
of
extra
false
false teeth.
teeth?
Yep.
I
And it did not work out well.
can
So
I can imagine.
and so it was a cute little situation where dad says you need to solve this problem and you need to solve it fast. So then they're up to trying to find ways to raise money and all of that. So the twins work together when in every situation they get into their own double mischief, but they have to find ways to be creative about getting out of the trouble that they get into. And the books are funny and they're humorous. I've got a lot of friends who as adults love reading it themselves just because they see themselves in it, but they also feel like it's perfect for their grandkids or their children or whatever else. So it's perfect. So but there's always something Book 1 was about the Nisi and Nene having their own beauty salon, and that became a disaster because they made all kinds of mistakes trying to do hair and nails and facials, and it was just a complete disaster. They used like guacamole and mustard and all of those things for a face mask, and they used fish scales for fake fingernails, which was a true story. I will say that was a true story because
Did that?
yes, I was a nail biter. I was a nail biter, and my twin sister could grow her nails beautifully, and I was just so envious of that. And so my mom fished, and we had people in the family that fished, and she was scraping off those fish scales, and I'm like, this looks like fingernails. Yep, so we tried to glue those fingernails on, those little fish scales for fingernails. So the stories really do evolve from some of our own little shenanigans and some of the things that we got into trouble over and things like that.
Wow,
So
the fish scales. My mom used to do that because my dad was a fisherman. He would fish.
mm-hmm,
He had a
mm-hmm,
boat with two of his friends, and they would go out and
mm-hmm.
bring home coolers full of fish. We would end up giving a lot of it away. But I don't remember the scales being big enough to be a fingernail, but maybe for a kid's fingernail, it probably would work.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That
So,
then the things that children think of, that's a child's mind goes in all kinds of different directions. And the idea that you even would think about gluing. So what did you use for the glue? Elmer's or
no, well, we tried to use that what is that brown glue that you press the little, I can't even think of it, but I
oh,
know you
it
would.
does it have a little brush on it?
Yeah, yeah, a little
It's a little
brush.
bottle
Mm-hmm,
top and it has
mm-hmm,
a brush on it.
mm-hmm,
I don't know
mm-hmm.
what that's called, but yeah, I
But
know what you
yeah,
mean.
yeah, it
Oh,
didn't last very long. It didn't last very long, and I think some Scotch tape was also used. So anything to make it work. But, the beauty of it was that we had a very rich childhood. Each of us experienced so many fun, exciting things. And, we owe that to my mom and my dad. And so each of the books has some hidden message that is directed towards my mom and my dad and, who have passed away. And so we want to pay homage to them. So there's little things in the book that just kind of like, mentions little things that would be pertinent to them and all of that. But it's just one of those things where kid literature is, we want to encourage it and keep it going, and we want especially to see kids want to read. You pick up a
mhm.
book because honestly, and I say this to so many, it's like kids really are our future, and they're going to be the one, the driving force. So mold them now while they have a chance to read. Give them that opportunity. Make them turn off that TV for half an hour. Get
Yes.
rid of the tablet for half an hour. Make it something that can be an incentive for them to do, but just encourage them to read. Because like you said, the tablet is a big sell right now, and video games especially.
Yeah.
So,
But parents really have to take charge. They can't
yep,
shy away from being the boss. I mean, they have to
yes,
just put because it's about their future, and reading, the ability to read is the gateway to everything else. If you can't
yes,
read,
yes,
you can't do well in the other subjects,
yes,
even math,
exactly.
because they're word problems.
Yes, yes. And
So
we want the characters in the book. Nisi she wants to be a doctor when she grows up, and she uses big words. She carries around a dictionary. However, Nene wants to be a detective, like her grandfather. And so she snoops everything out. So, again, it's a beautiful thing. So
so we're at the end of our show. Can you show us the three? Do you have the three books with you, or is
I
it four?
do.
Yeah, three.
I
One,
don't
two,
know if
three, and four.
the book 4 does not come out until
Okay.
October.
Okay. So
So
book one. Where's book
book
one?
1 is Nisi and Nene and the Tangle Hairy Mess.
Okay, that's
And
the
then
okay.
book 2 is Nisi and Nene and the Glitter Girls.
Okay.
And then today's hot off the press is Nisi and Nene and the Green Thumbs. And so that is book 3. So book
Okay.
4 comes out October 7th. And so we're super excited about it, and just, available for book launches and just getting out there and getting the word, virtual book visits, author visits, just wanting kids to be able to get a hold of the books, and just to kind of develop their imagination.
Okay. Well, Syrone, thank you for being a guest on Black Authors Matter
Thank
TV,
you.
and
Thank you.
continued success with both the writing and your literary agency work.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Have a
Okay.
great
Take
night.
care. Mhm.
Okay, so that's the end of our show for this week. Some of you may have heard that I mentioned it on the show that our daughter's getting married on June 14th. So that's next Saturday, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday. So it's coming up pretty quick. She got engaged in December, and it seems like it just was a whirlwind, just came up so fast. And we're looking forward to that. And should be great. And I'm practicing. I'm getting some more practice, making sure that my line dancing is on point. Because I do plan to dance at my daughter's reception. So
learn boots on the ground.
I haven't learned that one. I'm not going to put that in my repertoire yet. I'm trying to perfect some of the other ones. The wombo was the last one that I had to just make sure I could do all the steps. Anyway, that's it for this week, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Tuesday for another amazing episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.